My name is Dave Berlin, and I'm the state coordinator with Global Entrepreneurship Week, and I'm here at the roof of the incredible Ahern Hotel, one of our partners this year, and I'm very excited to see so many of the entrepreneurial groups and business owners come together. And the reason why I got involved with Global Entrepreneurship Week is it helps me further my mission to connect the people of our city so together we can show the world who we really are. I just want to thank everybody for raising their hand and participating in Global Entrepreneurship Week.
Drove down, had nowhere to live. We were in one of the hotels for 6 weeks trying to get somewhere to live. So not planned well. But like the entrepreneurial community here is phenomenal. Like I joined a group called Entrepreneur Organization, and they're my people. Like, you know, I tell these stories and they're like, oh my gosh, I did something just like that. Yeah. Whereas most people are like
you're crazy.
What? Right. You did what? And then you did that after you did that. Like, and so I love it here and family oriented. I've made, and I was in LA for 4 years. I don't have a close friend in LA. And here, I've been here 2.5 years. I see somebody I
maybe a degree of separation here in Vegas. And again, and it's like that can be great and that can also be
I just sit with them like, what's going on, girlfriend?
Yeah.
And it comes out.
Yeah. And I think that's what the beauty is, especially in the female space, is because we tend to come together a little bit more. We tend to share a little bit more. And I think if that's anything that any men out there can learn from us is speak up, because even for them as well, there's this like facade and person that they are supposed to be too. Just as women, we bear these burdens, men bear the burdens too of they're supposed to be the strong ones and they're supposed to, not show emotions and not emote, period. And they have to be the providers and do all these things. And I remember thinking about that because I'm divorced and just reflecting on my, past relationship and just all the intricacies with that and just thinking like, wow, I can't imagine being in a space of all of the stress that could happen as far as having to be the provider and really knowing like it stops at you. And if you mess up, you are in charge of all these other things and all these other lives and everything. And I think, again, being a business owner, same thing is we think about that, like every decision that we make impacts so many others.
Megan Buckley, and I am your community organizer for Global Entrepreneurship Week. The reason why I got involved with Global Entrepreneurship Week is to give opportunities for everyone to see what we really have here in Vegas outside of the Strip. We are a big small town and we are a thriving business community, and there is just so much to offer here, whether you are a new business going to come to start or you want to just get out there and connect with more of the community outside of what it is specifically that you do.
I mean, Alex Hormozy too, even said, like, I'm trying to remember perfectly, so I'm not probably going to butcher it, but he hired someone and he was like, hey, I want to make this brand happen. And what do? He just was like, okay, we're going to pay this. I'm committed to it for 12 years, I think he was. So something like that. He was committed to it for a long time. He wasn't just thinking about instant results. He was committed for a long time.
That's a great point, right? Because I think, we're seeing Alex Hormozy really starting to dominate in the, marketing space and entrepreneurial space as a thought leader. And he did that event that had maybe like 155,000 people live, right? So it was a great demonstration of everything. But we're kind of seeing that, after the, 5, 10 plus years he's put into his business and into content creation. And it's interesting, that he made that comment, right? Because I think the juxtaposition of that is the small business owner who makes the commitment for like 3 months and then quits after 1 month.
30 seconds, and then you give us the cue. Yeah.
This is Global Entrepreneurship Week here in Las Vegas at the Ahern Hotel. I'm really excited because we got an incredible panel for everyone today. It's the Evolving Ecosystems panel, and we have some really brilliant guests joining us today. Starting off with Miss Lisa Song Sutton. She was the former Miss Nevada here. She's a serial entrepreneur investing in real estate, has a company called Sin City Cupcakes, building a mailbox empire on the side, and is also a general partner for the Veteran Fund. Lisa, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We have Dave Berlin, good old Dave, Dave the Day. Dave is everywhere these days. He helped launch Bunker Labs here in Las Vegas. He's our state coordinator for Global Entrepreneurship Week, which is a volunteer role, so thank you for bringing us all together. And a fun fact, he's DJ'd over 500 weddings. And normally he carries a boombox, but didn't bring it today. Probably really busy. And of course, we have Shady De Jesus. Shady is from Austin, Texas. And if you don't know, Austin is a massively growing entrepreneurial environment. Shady is an emerging manager in the venture ecosystem. She is also part of SoGal, which is a global ecosystem of diverse entrepreneurs and investors. And she sits on the advisory board for South by Southwest. So that's a plug we have to follow up on. And really excitingly, in a nonpartisan way, she was the 2022 Presidential Scholar for George W. Bush's Leadership Institute. Let's give a round of applause to welcome our guests. All right, so we're gonna play Mike, juggling the mic. Oh, Dave's got you on the right. Thank you, Dave. So the first question, if you had a magic wand, what would you add to the Las Vegas ecosystem?
I think Vegas actually has been doing a really good job of bringing in the diversity for the longest time, and we still are. I mean, hospitality tourism is number one. It will continue to be number one just by the nature of who the Las Vegas identity really is. But I think, we're seeing so much more with tech. We're seeing so much more with kind of Main Street small business. And that's just going to continue to grow. So if I could wave a magic wand, it would just be to really help accelerate that. And keep in mind that we need to be advocating for proper policies, right? We don't have the infrastructure to help support all these different types of businesses that are here in the state. It doesn't matter how diverse it becomes, they won't be able to function and operate in a meaningful way. And so really, like, waving a magic wand, it would be to remind everyone that we really should be having and advocating for a progressive economic policy situation in the day.
Thank you.
Mine is very ambitious, and it tends to make people a little upset sometimes. But I've seen a lot of things in other ecosystems that I really would love to see not be the exact same thing here, but I've seen a lot of places that are popping up and doing collaborations with both organizations, venture capital partners, and things like that. And I had seen something very unique in Austin, and it was a hotel that doubles as kind of that co-working space with venture capital, the Capital Factory. And I looked at all the hotels that we have on the skyline, and I thought, wow, that'd be really cool to see a hotel do that here as part of our history. Because when you add something new to the skyline, like a Legion Stadium, that gave the world permission to look at Las Vegas differently in the world of sports. We have things like F1, coming things like that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the exact same thing, but I was like, oh wow, that's a conference center. And if you use the food court, it could be a test kitchen. There's lots of cool things that could come from the infrastructure of that. But it would be a lot of fun to see people come together in one central place. on the Strip that would kind of echo that energy and entrepreneurship that I've seen in some other places.
I would actually really agree with the hub, and that's kind of on my side. I think, it was like 42 million people visited Vegas in 2019, and like that's just an insane amount of people. And then routinely hosting like CES to like 170,000 folks come to one particular conference, and so I feel like New York is an international city, but Las Vegas could really capture it. Like people are coming here authentically to celebrate important milestones in their life and in their business, and the amount of money that comes through here, not only is it gambling on just a gamble, but if you could gamble on the new technology of the world that could change things, that you guys could really capture those individuals, and so that the rest of the US and North America itself can really lean into who are those authentic leaders that can help us grow the footprint and just ideas that can really help shape just a better economy.
That's wonderful. And so I've got some questions for each of you, starting with you, Lisa. Given your various experiences as an entrepreneur, somebody who's really been in Nevada for a minute, can you tell folks about how Las Vegas has evolved over the past 2 decades and how people could be taking advantage as individuals in this ecosystem?
So I've been here since 2010. So I've been here 13 years, and 14 years, and just really seen it grow and change in an incredible way. I think the best thing for us to do is really just lean in. As you mentioned, I'm a former Miss Nevada. During that time, I did nearly 500 community experiences, volunteering in schools, creating hospitals, working with countless nonprofits. And really, that time that kind of accelerated my opportunity to get ingratiated within the local community. And it had nothing to do with business per se, right? It was literally just volunteering my time with kind of every nonprofit under the sun. I did a Boys and Girls Club tour in the entire state. So it wasn't business focused or business centric, it was community focused. And now, fast forward 9 years later, to this day, we still have business relationships, personal connections, business relationships that came out of that time period because I really leaned into the community and was volunteering.
Yeah, I love that. Community involvement is a really great place to start, and I recommend that for everybody. Thank you. Shady, you've been in Austin, and you've gotten to see how Austin has evolved over the past decade. Can you tell us what might we learn from Austin? What could we bring to Vegas?
Yeah, so I was first gen in Texas, the military connected community, and I originally to San Antonio, right? And so we left for about 10 years. And having visited all these ecosystems in Alaska, North Carolina, and came back in 2015, and it was just really surprising. Like it was the first diversity accelerator. It was in 2015. No one had really put Austin on the map per se in that time frame. So just see it grow. I mean, that's about 7 to 8 years of just active involvement. But most people don't realize is that Austin really has like a 40-year history, 30-year, is really trying to build it. And so the university, Macomb School of Business and UT itself excels very well. And so the business ecosystem really leaned into the university ecosystem. And so if you look at some of the proposed plans for Vegas, where we were challenged at for a very long time is they didn't want to grow. And so the transportation infrastructure and the connectivity is not there. You guys in 2021 got a 50-year franchise relationship to build an entire underground transportation, community, and some of our key billionaires are leading some of the, that. And so you're going to have that. It's like, how do you start building ahead? And so that when that opportunity presents itself, you're able to lead into it. Because you see it in, I went to Shanghai, and the ability to kind of get from point A to point B is really important. If I am here and I only have an hour and I want to come and participate, how do I get out of everything else that's going on and just come to do something that I want? And so that's what I really think for you is the ability to really lean in ahead of it. Start planning out, in 10 years, who are the key players, who are the authentic people that are born and raised here or have revisited from other ecosystems, and they have that talent and aspiration, is to build the community first, and then the money comes later.
Yeah, that's really great. And to your point about transportation at the university, I feel like we're very lucky here in Las Vegas because we've got UNLV, and they lean in pretty heavily. And we also have the Boring Company, which is building some transportation. And then autonomous vehicles, right? Nevada is just very friendly as a state towards innovation. Lisa, I know you're pretty involved heavily in that arena. What could you share about, whether that's advice for entrepreneurs or investors in terms of, how they can be tapped into the legislative stuff so that we can continue to shepherd Nevada into the future?
I think something as simple as just realizing that the private sector has to come off the sidelines and get involved. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to run and be a candidate, right? It's not like you have to jump neck deep into it if you don't want to. Been there, done that. But you can serve on nonpartisan boards. Nevada Policy Research Institute is one of the great ones. I'm actually on their board here, and we have Johnson Wallace here, who's president of Nevada Policy. And Nevada Policy does great work. It just little things like they put out a legislative report card, right? And they keep track of all the voting on all the bills at the state level, and it's just about accountability, right? So if you're paying attention to not only the reps for your area where you live, but also how are they voting? Are they voting in a way that's reflective of the populace? That's their job. They're supposed to be representing their constituents. And so something as small as checking in on that accountability and seeing are they actually voting the way they told you that they would to get your vote in the first place. Little things like that. Get involved with great nonprofits that are tracking that. Up in Carson City is where our legislative body meets. You can attend there. Any Nevada, anyone can go in there and sit in on sessions. It's open to the public. And that's our right as a citizen, the state as well. So feel free to exercise that and lean into that as much as you can. Because if you don't, and we don't, who is?
Right. And Nevada, we're very lucky to have some access to the legislators, unlike many other states. This next question is for Dave. Dave, you work so hard for this community. Can you share, where your passion for building an ecosystem comes from? Why is it so important to you?
I can share a couple of things. One, part of it comes from vision, mission. It came from the same passion I had for a community I was in before in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's my mission is always to connect the people of our city, so together we can show the world who we really are. I think I noticed there were stigmas that people had about Tulsa. Everyone thought it was just an oil and gas town. For the longest time it was. When I got here, obviously, I got married in Vegas 20 years ago, right? I came out here at the Riviera, rest in peace. And I did what, I saw Vegas the way that most people do. But once I moved here, years later, I saw there's so much more to it. There's so many incredible people. I call them unicorns, not to be confused with billion-dollar companies, but they are billion-dollar people. That have come here from various walks of life, and I want the world to see that. And there's one very specific example, a mutual friend that you and I have, at a coffee shop one day. I ended up meeting Paul.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
I met Paul, and I was talking about something he overheard, injected himself into the conversation, which I love, and it turns out, he was one of the original people that brought Lyft here, all kinds of things. And I would love to wake up in any city, but especially Las Vegas, where we have that same energy and that same talent at every coffee shop. And people are just really excited about putting things into action and not being held back from what they see and it being able to come to life. I think if there's any city where something can go from a vision to execution, it's here in Las Vegas. And if it doesn't work out, we just blow it up and we build something else. And that's historically what we've done with the buildings, but can we do that with the community as well, right? So to me, I've said it a couple times, and it was like a little play on Tupac. I used to write the quote, I never said I would change the world, but I would spark the mind that it does. I would write that like on little whiteboards. And here, I don't think that we have to change the world, but it's certainly our responsibility to change the way the world looks at Las Vegas. And if we can do that, we're going to start to attract some of those brilliant people, and that's what we get to wake up with. And it's people that are ready to execute because they come from communities where maybe you don't fit in. Maybe we're the crazy ones, and here we can get it done.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I have this next question for you, Shady, because you're part of the South by Southwest group. Here in Las Vegas, we have nearly 50 million tourists that come to our town. We have over 2,000 2,000 conferences a month, right? Almost 24,000 plus a year. It's an amazing opportunity. What did you learn from being part of South by Southwest in terms of what did you see? What insights can you share about that being an accelerator for individuals and entrepreneurs so that people who are listening now can take those lessons and apply it to CES or the other conferences that are in residence here in Vegas?
Yeah, so I really love South by Southwest. I had a background in media and entertainment. I worked for Univision and for Warner Music Group when I was in my early years. And so we had the festival itself is, if you're not familiar with it, South by Southwest International Festival. Once a year, it's like the adult spring break. You come in, and for 2 weeks, you can engage in everything innovative. It's film, music, technology, heads of government. One of our sister cities in Austin is the UK. And so they'll bring their entire delegations, and from Brazil, Tokyo. And so it's really exciting to see how intentional it is. Even the programming itself, it's very intentional to expand the minds, challenge the status quo, and then just bring in new thought logic so that the world can see, what folks are doing. And so I think that's, for me, seeing that with the engagement here, is like some of the access can be opened up, right? So give someone a super connector like us a seat at the table in these conversations, and so that we can see how you can best grow in a couple of years. It takes intentionality. But for that conference itself, we have official artists from all across the world. We have music launches, and just behind the scenes is just, billionaires, millionaires, and just the general population, community members coming out, and all three of them could be on a panel at one given time. And so it's just exciting because you guys potential there.
What can we look like? What can people learn about getting access to capital? So when we talk to business owners, we ask them, what do they need help with? Majority of business owners say that they need support with access to capital, whether that's in the form of lending, or investors, or bringing up sales. And so how can folks tap into, take advantage of the Las Vegas ecosystem and get access to capital? And let's start with you, Lisa.
There's a lot of resources out there, perhaps now more than ever, and obviously with the Veteran Fund, so the venture capital fund, called the Veteran Fund, we invest in early stage technology companies that are focused on national security and dual use, and they must invest in a military staff and leadership team. With that, we in particular invest in companies that are at the pre-seed level. So these are folks that are really starting out, they're past innovation, they're past 0 to 1, but they have revenue, they aren't profitable yet, and so that's our opportunity to really help them get in and accelerate and grow. So I do think there's a lot of resources out there, but one, it's just putting yourself out there to get in those circles, to be meeting not only capital allocators, but also meeting founders who have self-funded and bootstrapped. That's how I started my business career. I self-funded and bootstrapped our way into profitability, and then took my money from that and created another company and kept the cycle going and going. So, there's a way to do it. It's not necessarily always easy. It's not necessarily always fun 100% of the time, but we do have great businesses where you can at least learn from folks as well. So even if you're not going to go out and raise money, there's people here who you can get plugged into to ask their experiences of how they self-funded and bootstrapped, and hopefully that will be beneficial to the journey.
Yeah, I just want to react to that. I'm bootstrapping my business as well, and it is not as fun. But I had, this past week, we did Road Global Entrepreneurship Week with Dave, and I think luckily I engaged over 30 entrepreneurs, and I got to talk to a ton of folks. I had so many downloads of information on how other people bootstrap their business to profitability, so that was really helpful. What about yourself, Dave?
So this is always a fun conversation for me because I am a late adopter when it comes to all things tech, and I know that's what most investors are always, really excited about investing in. I see a few challenges in raising capital. I do see a lot of opportunities too, but I'm going to speak more to the smaller business and smaller industries, service-based industries. I feel like we're in this, I call it the Shark Tank, where everyone has seen somebody with a really great idea go pitch and get money, And it's funny because you can see a panel of 3 totally different industries. Somebody that's doing something in agriculture, somebody that's doing something in tech defense, and somebody who's doing something that just has to do with an HR technology. And they all have the biggest challenges in the world, but the same $1 million is going to solve that problem. The challenge I see is that sometimes capital is not the best solution, and it's really just the education of what does capital mean? What's the responsibility that comes with that? And maybe it's just because I grew up in the gritty world of hardcore sales and just getting it done. Sometimes the best capital is revenue. And are they getting the money to really get the job done, or is it just because like if I get that money, then everything's going to be better on the other side? Oftentimes it's not. So I just want to make sure that there's really strong education programs in helping people understand what the responsibility of capital is.
Fantastic. I totally agree. What about yourself, Shady, regarding access to capital?
I would love to say just find your tribe. A lot of times you're building and it's just like dating, you're gonna get all these negatives, but it really finding that aligned network. So for instance, like SoGal is a global network, we have chapters all across the world, we have a foundation side, we have a venture arm, and we also have angel network. And so at any point in time, you could really find that ecosystem champion, or vice versa, if you are a capital provider, and let's say, like our business future work, help and play. Help takes a lot of lag time in order to develop. But if you're one of those that can actually give back with some patient capital and really understanding the vision and mission of one of these companies, you really could bring to market some life-changing, literally, technology. And so I'm a big advocate for that, as well as finding those next milestones. Is it revenue based? Is it just a very strong strategic partnership? And so a lot of times in coming through those challenges, you may raise money, and most people don't know, like it's best to just go ahead, go at it and fail, and then come back. Like 2/3 of the venture ecosystem startups literally don't get anywhere, right? And so sometimes we have this pride and joy that it has to be the best thing, and I'm gonna take one shot on target. But there's folks that have raised billions and lost billions, but the next venture actually becomes something that's really worthwhile. So there's a misconception there, and I just love to lean into that a little bit more, especially in this ecosystem.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. It sounds like we're all kind of on the same page that raising money is not always the direct answer. You have to ask yourself, that's the right move first. And it's more so about revenue. And so going back into the ecosystem of Las Vegas and all the revenue opportunities we have here, this ecosystem is very much rooted in tourism. And we're the fun capital of the world. Now we're becoming the sports capital of the world, and there's so many other opportunities. What do you think businesses should, how should businesses position themselves to take advantage of that tourism economy?
I always tell entrepreneurs that if they have an idea for a product or service that caters to a tourist market, come try it in Las Vegas. Because to your point, right, we're 50 million tourists fly from our airport alone, that's the count who drives in, and the city does all the marketing for you, right? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, all the different marketing techniques that have come up over the years that market Vegas to everybody. We have all these direct flights that come through the airport. They're already coming, and they're already coming with the mentality to spend. When we, with cupcakes, I mean, people were like maxing out their credit cards. They were spending their last $200 to buy some alcohol cupcakes for their friend's bachelorette party. Like, they're already coming with this mentality that they're like, I have to do it, and I have to do it in Vegas. So that's your opportunity. If your product or service doesn't catch in the Vegas market, I don't know where it catches. This is the place. This is an international destination. You have exposure all around. And even when we started the cupcakes back in 2012, for example, remember that was still a recession year. And that was still a recession domestically and certainly in Nevada. Our market was an international market because you remember the dollar was super weak. And that was incredible for tourists who were coming from Australia, from the UK, from these other places, and they were still coming to Vegas to have a good time and celebrate bachelorettes, weddings, and birthdays, and spur the moment trips. So that's who we sold cupcakes to. And then the market started to get better. We had more domestic folks coming back in, and that's really where Vegas shines tonight, because regardless of what's going on domestically, I feel like Vegas is still that international destination where folks are going to come.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Lisa.
I just have to say this. Can I still get those cupcakes somewhere?
We actually are working on an exit right now to a strategic.
Gotcha. Because every time you talk about it, and she brings it up, I'm just like, I've got it. I guess for me, I'm very interested to, and I've learned this just in the entertainment business, right? So I can DJ a lot of the different weddings and things like that are, more for the locals, but also how do you partner with? So a lot of times it's not just that you have to aim for that target. How can you create a really strategic partnership with the people that are on place, especially on the strip? And sometimes that can be daunting, can be challenging, but I believe it's all based off of relationships, right? And one of the most common things that I've seen from so many people that are running these fantastic establishments, whether it be hotels, whether it be all these different arenas, all the different things. Most of those people, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, they came from somewhere else. And you'd be surprised that just that connection with somebody else can open up or unlock a partnership where just because you're from Ohio, right? It could be the thing that, the sales director at the Madison Square Garden Sphere is also from Ohio, or something like that, where it's a lot more accessible than sometimes people believe. Some people see the big and you believe, then that can become true, or if you say, and then you start partnering off of that stuff, and then you can have great success in leveraging not just the general tourism that comes here, but the hyper focus events like CES and things like that as well.
For me, I was introduced as emerging managers. If folks aren't familiar with that, emerging managers are like ourselves. It's that we're in the process of creating a fund. Generally, it's probably like 20 million or below as your first fund. And these are folks that have been on the scene and they're crafting thesis around either the movement of your city or things that they're personally aligned with, and so then they find capital. This year has been one of those years. We know the economy is going up and down, but those partners themselves are the heat map touch of the nation right now. And a lot of times $10,000, $100,000 really helps to move the ecosystems and kind of build the community. And so if you're a partner in that sense, definitely reach back into any of the emerging managers, because they're doing amazing things for your community. That a lot of the institutional funders, they're just there to make sure that the portfolio is working and growing. But when you're looking at how are you changing some of the inner workings of your communities, you can put money in that. So for instance, I was part of the Stanford cohort of new and innovative diverse managers, and there we get 50 emerging managers from across the world. Costa Rica, CDC, the Tokyo, automotive, Egypt. And so that cohort builds 50 every year of aligned community networks there. And so if you're tapped into that and you enjoy that, like that's probably really best way is to give back in a sense to the community, but also get the same or better return. Like McKinsey and Goldman Sachs have already said that the return on capital is a very much more A than some of the other vintage funds. And so if you're going to gamble on that and you want to be part of a story, future Zoom, Twitter, or whatever that might be, then gamble here and where it counts.
Yeah, that's great. Relationships is definitely the key, and there's so many amazing folks here in Las Vegas to connect with. Now, tourism is definitely, it's for sure we could say that Las Vegas is the hub for tourism. But as this ecosystem evolves, there have been voices that say Las Vegas is also a hub for X. For example, a hub for sports, and for sure we're emerging in the sports entertainment category. But there's also been that blockchain movement, and then recently there's been the AI movement, right? How do we separate from the fluff and not fall in the trap of shiny objects syndrome and stay focused? Or how much of that is not fluff and should be taken seriously?
I think just from an operator standpoint, it's just focusing in on core competencies because there's always going to be some shiny object in the distance or something new that pops up and becomes like a fad or a trend. My background's in law. I come from the world of business litigation and business bankruptcy, so it was a great precursor to going into business. And one of the main things I learned working at the firm was creating SOPs, creating standard operating procedures for everything that you have going on. And fast forward, my business portfolio is super diverse. It's from food and beverage to real estate to mailboxes, companies, whatever. And all within that common denominator is that we have really, really strong SOPs. So I think just focusing in on whatever it is your core competencies are, your core strengths are, and it's okay if you want to change any objects a little bit, but always overlay like whatever it is that your core competencies are, and just keep bringing that to the table. There's always a way to adapt.
So when it comes to at least the building blocks that this city was built on, when it comes to a lot of tourism and things like that, it is the city for this, the city for that. I truly believe that we would not be here on this stage right now. A lot of the entrepreneurial things would be considered in time, but they wouldn't be as necessary as they are since COVID. I've heard people in talks say, oh, well, in 2008, this or that. Well, 2008, the city wasn't boarded up. I wasn't here, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't boarded up. And that created that economic heart attack where if you put everything into one thing, and that for whatever reason that we had no control over, it kind of forced us to expand into other industries, and not as a full focal point, but in that expansion, we've gone into sports and all those different things. So I think there is a certain point where we need to stick to what we're great at, stick to what we're good at, but at the same time, never ignore some of those other opportunities. I think one of the biggest ones that I'm really interested to see, again, back to that magic wand, I'm really interested to see more deal flow come through this city, because as we do get, I know for a fact, a very simple fact, that there are large venture capitalists with big funds that are housing their money here. They're not exactly playing their money here because there's not the full ecosystem in place that makes a lot of deal flow. And so that's one thing I'd be really interested to see, because as soon as we become, the city for sports, and then we become the city for entrepreneurship on that tech level, at the level that I know that we can play at, I'd be really interested to see how things take off from there.
So being out of the Austin ecosystem, we all know that we've always been the wild child of Texas. We don't follow the rules in every sense of the word. But what's really exciting is that the community folks have really leaned into it and understood, hey, this is our core value add. So now that we see Texas, we've moved between the 9th and the 10th largest economy here, and it's because we've been able to connect all of the best parts of our entire state ecosystem and align manifesto and vision for what we want to see. And so all the key players and innovators are have the same mindset. So we play very well together. We also challenge the industries that have long served, like oil and gas, and how do we move with the great wealth transfer, the new innovators, the new youth who are going to be driving that innovation forward, and how do we start building the platform now so that they can execute on that. And so Nevada has a lot of untapped land here. That's what we're seeing in Texas as well. And so, we have some smart cities coming up in the Nevada region where it's just built from scratch. The vision that you have, if you didn't have to deal with all of the complications of the infrastructure that was built 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? And so sometimes it's completely going against the grain and creating something new. So it'd be really exciting is just to see how individuals continue to lean into that and really supporting it for those founders, and also blockchain, right? A lot of folks don't even know about the utilization of these ledgers, and they're so scared of it, but the opportunity there, especially in media and entertainment, is really robust as well. So.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think I'll consider Austin and Vegas to be sister cities now. We don't have to go against the grain. So Global Entrepreneurship Week is happening in over 140 cities, and there's thousands of events all around the planet. And we're kicking it off here in Las Vegas. And a big part of Global Entrepreneurship Week is connecting entrepreneurs together. Could each of you share how folks can get connected with you, and any final advice you want to share with the audience today?
Yeah, of course. So I'm active on social, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all platforms. You can find me at Lisa's on Sutton. And it's my one piece of advice. There's a quote that my parents told me while I was growing up, and it's ring true every part of my life. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I think, you bring your work ethic. It's okay. Like, you don't have to be the most experienced, you don't have to be the oldest in the room, or the youngest in the room, or the best. But if you bring your work ethic, that'll always shine through.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. For me, the advice to any entrepreneur that wants to not only get involved with Global Entrepreneurship Week, but if you have that idea or you get people excited about something, put a date on the calendar and just go. It's been phenomenal to see what the team of volunteers pulled together in such a short period of time. It's a separate live, so I have to give a shout out. Sunday last week, we put together a 50-hour live podcast broadcast in no time at all, zero money. And if we waited for everything to be perfect, we'd still be waiting. But I watched the second day. I'm watching Elias interview 5 different people that I've never met in the city, and now I'm excited to meet and connect with all of them. So a date on the calendar, a place where people can go virtually in person. That's going to be where that connection happens. So many times we can go to the same places and see the same people, but there's people that are driving into this town today and deciding to put roots here, and we can't connect with them if we don't share a lot.
And how do we follow you
Oh, you can go to the link tree for me is just davemeetsbusiness.com. There's plenty of buttons on all the different things that I can connect with dots for and show up, or Dave wrote on Instagram.
there? So I'm Shady, like Slim Shady. That's usually my intro. It doesn't seem where I'm at. It really is true. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter at Shady DeJesus. That's Shay D-I DeJesus. And then on Insta it's at Real Shady. RealShady. I truly believe in being your authentic self, your vulnerable self in the business world. Sometimes it's really challenging, but when you do, you find like-minded party folks who want to be on a journey with you. And so it's really excited to have that opportunity this week to connect.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for helping us kick off Global Entrepreneurship Week. We put our hands together for the panelists one more time. All right, thank you so much for those that are tuning in live. Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be back in 15 minutes with some more speakers and panelists throughout the day.
My name is Dave Berlin, and I'm the state coordinator with Global Entrepreneurship Week, and I'm here at the roof of the incredible Ahern Hotel, one of our partners this year, and I'm very excited to see so many of the entrepreneurial groups and business owners come together. And the reason why I got involved with Global Entrepreneurship Week is it helps me further my mission to connect the people of our city, so together we can show the world who we really are. I just want to thank everybody for raising their hand and participating in Global Entrepreneurship Week.
Drove down, had nowhere to live, we were in one of the hotels for 6 weeks trying to get somewhere to live. So not planned well. but like the entrepreneurial community here is phenomenal. Like I joined a group called Entrepreneur Organization, and